Welcome to another edition of the It's Cavalier podcast. It's your boy Mack, and today we not only got our chance to see Victor Wembanyama up close and personal as the Spurs came to town, we also welcomed home former Cleveland Cavalier and fan favorite Cedi Osman. The Turkish swingman spent the first 6 seasons of his career in white and gold, and quite honestly was part of 3 different eras in Cleveland. He was drafted by the Minnesota Timberwolves, and then his draft rights were immediately traded to the Cavs back in 2015, if you recall. However, he wouldn't come over to the NBA until 2017, just in time to suit up with one LeBron James.
Uh-huh. Hey. Okay. Okay. Let's go. Let's go. Uh-huh. Do it. Do it. Do it.
You ugly. You your daddy's son.
Hey. Hey. Cavalier fans, I feel something special on this Friday night.
I was able to hit a walk-off there and, find my guy once again, Cedi. That's my guy. That's my rook, and he's always on time and on target. So, I found my guy once again, and, deja vu all over again.
Now, Cedi rarely played in that rookie season, but he still got to soak it all in as LeBron carried the Cavs back to the NBA Finals for the 4th straight season. That provided valuable experience to a young Osman, I'm sure. He was then part of a rebuilding era, 3 to 4 seasons of asset accumulation, which saw him have numerous peaks and valleys. He set a career high of 13 points per game in his first real opportunity to start a ton of games, and while that 2018-2019 season was absolutely dreadful, Cedi gave us some good moments and showed that he could absolutely be a real rotation caliber wing. Then came the final era in which Cleveland emerged from the rebuild and started to resemble a playoff team once more. Osman came off the bench and seemed to be in and out of JB Bickerstaff's doghouse, to be honest. He would finish his final season in white and gold, averaging 8.7 points and shooting 37.2% from three-point distance. He was then included in the deal that brought in Mack. And at the end of the day, I was sad to see him go. I was, honestly, but I ultimately agreed with the move. Osman gave the city of Cleveland his all in his 6 years with the squad, and I wish nothing but the best of him. As for today's game, he wasn't anything to write home about. He had 9 points off that Spurs bench. He made some big plays at times, like his offensive rebound that generated a Trey Jones triple and a deflection off of Mack, which led to 2 more points for Jones. But overall, he didn't do as much as I thought he might. I'm okay with that, right? Anytime a former player is returning to play the former team, there is a component of emotion, I'm sure. We just saw this with Lauri Markkanen and Colin Sexton not too long ago with the Utah Jazz when they came visiting. But tonight, Osman, they gave him a tribute video like they do with most of these, if not all of these returning Cavaliers. And it was nice to see, right? Got a nice standing ovation. Cleveland is classy in that regard. They treat former players like they're still part of the squad. Not too much, but I'm glad to see that they honored him because he is, still a fan favorite around here. Honestly, I was, when I first heard that Osman would be included in that deal, again, I was happy that we were bringing in Mack, but again, a little sad because I did like Cedi. He was in JB's doghouse way too often, in my opinion. And a lot of that had to do, obviously, due to his inconsistency on the floor, whether that be on the defensive end or as a shooter. But Cedi, he grew on me over his time here. And I think without his presence, the Cavs probably would have been even worse during the rebuilding era. On the other side, Cleveland had a tall task on his hands. No pun intended. Look, the Spurs might be 5-30, but they represent a unique size challenge for most teams, Cleveland included. And if there was ever a matchup that Evan Mobley was missed, this was probably going to be the one. You kind of need his length against such a lengthy Spurs team led by the one, the only Victor Wembanyama. The number 1 overall pick had 24 points, 10 boards, and 5 block shots in 25 minutes for San Antonio, and showcased exactly why he was the consensus pick. Fortunately for us, Jared Allen came to play, though. He made sure Wemby felt his presence when the two were matched up with one another, and he really took advantage of the minutes that Wemby wasn't on the court. He would finish today's game with yet another double-double, I believe his 7th straight, in fact, totaling 29 points and 16 rebounds while going 11 of 19 from the field. That is pure dominance, my friends. Sheer dominance. Over Allen's last 10 games, he is averaging 18.8 points, 13.1 rebounds, and 4.3 assists on an ultra efficient 64.4% from the field. Same shit, different game from this man. Now, offensively speaking, he took advantage of size mismatches. He was money as the roll man in pick and roll sets. He was aggressive and attacking within the painted area. He attacked the offensive glass, snatching a game high 5 offensive rebounds, which led to 8 second chance points. He continued to use the DHO to free up his teammates. And although tonight he failed to rack up the assist as we've been accustomed to seeing him do, I'll still take the 29 points and 16 rebound effort any day of the week. Allen has truly been on an all-star, if not MVP level tear as of late. And for anybody who questioned his standing with the team, his effectiveness, his toughness, his resolve, I hope that this recent stretch of play has shown you just how valuable the big man can be when you actually get him involved. This is a really, really good fucking player, guys. And so I hope that anybody who wanted to move off of him this past offseason, I hope that your opinions have been swayed just a little bit. Now I get it. Evan Mobley is not back. That adds another dynamic to this, right? People will continue to say, oh, well, one or the other, they always play better when one or the other isn't out there and not clogging up the paint and you're playing with one true big. In this case, it's Jared Allen, and Jared Allen is excelling. But we have also seen Evan Mobley do the same thing, right? And so all I know is that we don't have all the variables yet to make a definitive conclusion or opinion on whether or not they play better separately. All I can say is I am appreciating what Jared Allen has brought to the table in the absence of Evan Mobley. He's been nothing short of phenomenal, and I love it. You know who else came to play today? Tristan Thompson, who used his frame, all 254 pounds of it, to make life hard on Wemby in the rest of San Antonio. There were more than a few sequences that showcased how important having a 5 with actual 5 size can be in specific matchups. Perhaps none more so than this possession, in which Tristan Thompson straight up bullied his way to 2 points over Wemby by bumping him out of the way. Take a look.
This team has got a lot of rhythm. They got a lot of shooters. They got size.
Thompson grabs the offensive rebound, sneaks it up and in.
Thompson coming back to Cleveland for the 2023-24 season will go down as one of the better signings across the NBA when it's all said and done, in my opinion. Kobe Altman was absolutely cooking when he got Double T to sign for a partially guaranteed deal worth up to about $3.2 million. He and Allen made sure to stay aggressive against the Spurs as they combined for 21 points in the first half alone and 37 overall. Now, Thompson, nobody thought that we were going to be getting this production out of him, right? I think you'd be lying to yourselves if those words came out of your mouth. But what I can say is that Tristan Thompson has been nothing short of, impactful, right? Whenever he's out on that court, Tristan Thompson typically gives you some good minutes. To highlight that, over Tristan Thompson's last 3 games, he has averaged 7.7 points, 5.7 rebounds, and 2.7 assists in roughly an average of 17.4 minutes per game. Some of this, obviously, you have to take with a grain of salt because 2 of those outings came against the lowly, just woeful Washington Wizards, right? We covered them ad nauseum in the last pod. They stink. They suck. They're terrible, right? But nevertheless, Tristan Thompson is providing value, right? 7.7 points, 5.7 rebounds, and 2.7 assists in his last 3 games, including tonight. So I couldn't be happier with what he's been able to provide us. And in a matchup where you don't have, a lot of options to turn to, right? Who are you going to go to? Damian Jones? Probably not. You can't really roll out Dean Wade for too long. You can't really roll out George Niang for too long against a player like Victor Wembanyama and expect for them to do well. It's just setting yourself up for failure. So Tristan Thompson made an impact, and I'm loving it, man. I truly am loving it. I know in real life 32 is not old, but in basketball, especially when you take a year away like Thompson did, it's considered old. Let's not let's not be coy here. Let's not mince words. In other news, I am so fucking glad the Cavs decided to bring back Caris LeVert. He has been so damn good off this Cavs bench this season. In 27 games as a reserve this year, LeVert is averaging 15.7 points, which ranks third in the entire league when coming off the bench. The only players ahead of him are Bogdan Bogdanovic and Tim Hardaway. He's also contributing 3.4 rebounds and 4 assists during those games in which he has brought off the bench. I can't say enough about him, right? Had a conversation on the last pod about when he wears his hair out, right? And how good the Cavs have played. Tonight, he had the hair back in braids, if I'm not mistaken. So, maybe there's not a correlation there, but either way, you absolutely love to see what Caris LeVert is bringing to this Cavaliers team. I mean, just been phenomenal off of this bench. Tonight, LeVert would finish, I believe, with 23 points and 3 assists on pretty efficient night, right? 9 of 13 from the field, including 4 of 5 from three-point range. This man looks like the sixth man of the year. If he doesn't win it, hopefully he is a finalist because he absolutely deserves it. We know what he's capable of doing. And now that he has that solidified role off the bench, which I believe was a huge problem last year, he's so versatile. But when you have that versatility, sometimes what it can end up doing is it can make you stretch too thin, right? Especially with the way the team elects to use you, whether you're starting or they bump you up to the role of, whether you're coming off the bench or they bump you up to the starting lineup, or they're asking you to do this or they're asking you to do that. Sometimes it can just kind of throw guys out of their element. And I think that was the case at multiple times last season with Caris LeVert. And so this year he has that solidified role. He knows what the Cavs are asking of him, and he doesn't have to stray outside that line. And to be honest with you, I think it's a big reason, despite all these injuries to the Cavaliers, why Caris is only, if I'm not mistaken, he's only started one game. They have elected effectively to have the man come off the bench because that's where they feel he has his best games, right? That's where they feel that his production is best utilized off that Cavaliers bench. And I can't disagree with it. I think that's the right option. So I hope that they continue to do that. But he looks like the sixth man of the year through 27, 28 appearances this year. I love it. You know what else? Sam Merrill continues to shoot the lights out. Today marked another big performance from the combustible Merrill, who drilled 5 more triples in just 23 minutes of action, bringing his season total up to 45 made threes on 43.7% across just 21 games. Dude is a fucking flamethrower. Let's talk about how Sam Merrill is making me question the very fabric of this Cavs rotation. JB will be committing an egregious crime if he doesn't include Merrill within the everyday rotation once it returns to full strength. He's too good of a shooter. And look, man, I get it. He's not the biggest guy out there. I think they have him listed at 6'4". I could be mistaken on that. I need to double check. But what I can say is that the shooting that he provides is just too damn valuable. You have to figure out lineups to include him in. It's too much to keep out, especially for a team who was clamoring for floor spacing. And when Evan Mobley come back, when Darius Garland comes back, I know that minutes are going to kind of be hard to come by for the likes of Craig Porter Jr., for the likes of Sam Merrill, guys like that. But Merrill has at the very least showcased an ability that you frankly need, right? He's quickly becoming a fan favorite for his Kyle Korver-esque ability to shoot off of screens. He has one of the quickest releases in basketball. And honestly, Merrill might be the player keeping Amani Bates, who had a phenomenal game against the Santa Cruz Warriors, and to a larger degree, Craig Porter Jr. on the bench. And when the Cavs brought him in last season, I knew that he was a capable shooter. I just didn't foresee him becoming perhaps the best shooter on the roster. Maybe that's an overstatement. Maybe I'm not factoring in Max Strus enough here, because I still think that Max Strus is one of the better shooters in the league. But I can't argue against the production that Merrill has brought to the table. He may very well be the Cavs' best shooter. He might be the best shooter on the entire roster. And I don't think when they brought him in, I don't think anybody foresaw that being the case. I don't think anyone did. He's been that good, and he's been a huge part of why the Cavaliers have made the league's second most triples per game over the last 10 games. They are caning 15.8 triples per game over their last 10, second to only the Boston Celtics, who are completing 16.8 per game. Now, they do rank 13th in terms of three-point percentage, but I'll take it, right? They're clearly getting the three ball attempts up, and they're falling to a respectable rate. So I will take that any day of the week, especially if it results in a W. Now, overall, in reference to this game, I'm glad they walked away with the win, obviously. I think that gives them a share, if not a tie, for the fourth seed. Now, I could be mistaken on that. I'll have to go back and check. But it got rough. It got rough at times, especially down the stretch. In fact, the game actually started off kind of rough as Devin Vassell was torching the Cavs to begin it. He scored 9 of the Spurs' first 13 points en route to San Antonio, winning the first quarter 32-28. Now, Cleveland was struggling to get anything going right up until Merrill and LeVert kind of gave them a scoring boost, and they gave them some really good minutes in the second. They shot just 37.5% from the field in the first quarter, though. It was kind of rough and it had me a little worried because I saw the size that Wembanyama has out there and how certain guys are trying to react to it because you can't simulate that, right? You just can't simulate his size. He's a freak of nature. And he is perhaps one of the most skilled big men that we have ever seen. And I have no doubt in my mind he's going to have a brilliant career as long as he stays healthy. But just purely in regards to tonight, you could clearly see that his length was bothering multiple Cavaliers to begin the game as they're just trying to figure out how to adjust to it. Clearly, that did not last the entire game. Guys found out how to best play off of him. And I think one of the biggest things that the Cavs could have done tonight, and they did it, was to draw him outside of that painted area, kind of draw up plays that moved him outside and got him off of his man and onto a mismatch. And they did that with Jared Allen a lot, right? They kind of hit him a lot of times, and they made sure that Wembanyama got switched on. And so that in all effects gave Jared Allen a mismatch against a much smaller opponent, and Jared was able to take advantage of that. And so they did that a lot. And credit to JB Bickerstaff and company for doing that. But it wasn't necessarily the start to the game or the middle of the game that had me worried, right? It was the close to the game because things were right. They were back and forth right up until the final period in which Cleveland built up a 111-95 lead. But they ended up taking their foot off the pedal, which resulted in a 20-6 San Antonio run, which culminated in the Spurs scoring the final 11 points of the game. And make no mistake, while LeVert played really well overall, he had a real head scratcher within the final moments that could have costed the Cavs the game. Obviously, maybe that's an overstatement. It may not have cost them the game, but it was a ridiculous sequence. You don't try to take a shot when you have Victor Wembanyama, who just has ungodly combination of size and length at his disposal. I don't know. Again, maybe it just comes back to needing to adjust to playing against a guy like that because this was their first opportunity to see him up close and personal, right? And maybe the next time that they see him, it won't be that way. But Karis LeVert kind of had a head scratcher. I didn't love that. Obviously, the Cavs got out of the building with a 117-115 victory, but this very well could have been a loss had they not taken the Spurs too seriously. And we all look at records here, right? Prior to today's game, San Antonio entered with a 5-29 record, and they're not as bad as their record indicates, right? I wonder without Wemby, though, if they would have won anything. I don't know. To me, they're better than the Washington Wizards. They cannot be worse than the Washington Wizards. They have to be better. They still have Pop, and Pop is, he's a gem. They will never be another Pop. Just his quips pregame and sometimes postgame, they're the stuff of legends. I don't know. I love it. Overall, the game could have been better, but it also could have been worse. And especially when you're looking up and down the box score, right? And you're saying, wow, man, Dean Wade went scoreless. Wow. Isaac Okoro didn't really give you too much. He only gave you 3 points. Donovan Mitchell failed to score 20. He was rather inefficient on the day, going 1 of 10 from 3-point distance. Holy shit. Other guys stepped up. Sam Merrill continues to be that flame-throwing presence that we know he can be now. Jared Allen continues to look like a fucking MVP kind of guy. Karis LeVert looks like sixth man of the year. You love it. You're getting performances up and down the board from guys that you just frankly would not have expected to begin this season. It's lovely. And with that being said, I think that's a good way to close out things. Cavs have somewhat of a vacation, right, as they head to Paris to take on the Brooklyn Nets. If I'm not mistaken, they got some time off, so I hope they enjoy it. I know I will. I'm tired as hell. But with that being said, you guys know how to reach me. If you'd like to, it's Cavalier_pod on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and more. If you'd like to be added to the It's Cavalier exclusive Discord chat, you know what to do. Leave a rating, leave a review, send a screenshot of said review to itscavalier53@gmail.com, and I'll send you that invite. That said, go Cavs. Have a good one.